Hello class, today we're going to get started with drawing out three different facial features. We're going to work on how to draw the eye, nose, and mouth. So on your sheet of paper, what we're going to do is this. We're going to have a nice drawing pencil, nice eraser, and we're going to get started with drawing the eye. I'm going to draw the eye towards the top of the paper to begin with. Now when you start out drawing the eye, the first thing you want to do is you want to draw in an arced line. Okay, just like this. Not too high, just like not a mountain, but more of kind of like a little slight hill here. Then once you get that, then we want to go ahead, we want to put a little, almost like hook shape on one end. That's going to be where your tear duct is. And your tear ducts always point inwards towards your nose. Now, the lower part of the eye is a little tricky to do. A lot of times people draw it really low. You don't want to. A lot of times that lower lid goes almost straight across. Sometimes it dips down just a little bit, but then it curves back up. And if you look at it, this is the shape of the eye, but it almost could be a leaf shape as well. Now once we have that done, I usually go ahead, put in a little line right here to separate the tear duct from the white part of the eye. That just kind of shows a little bit more definition, gets a little more detail in here. Then once we have this, the next step is to go ahead and add the iris and the pupil. Now the iris and the pupil are circles. They're not ovals, they're not triangles, they're a circular shape. The good portion of the iris, which is the colored part of your eye, does go underneath the upper lid a little bit and either touches or almost touches the lower lid. So it's pretty good size inside your eye. So to do this, to draw a circle, I usually go ahead, just very lightly, kind of sketch in where this is going to go. And that's another thing too, always draw lightly. You never know when you're going to be making those mistakes, to make those corrections, and it's okay to make those mistakes because that's the way of learning, but it happens, okay? And like I said, that upper lid will go underneath here a little bit. I'm just going to go ahead and kind of draw that in so you can kind of see how much will go underneath there. All right? See, look at this. I got a little too much over here too, so I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of this away. All right? I'm going to go ahead and kind of raise this upper portion too. That should be all right. So we're going to go ahead and kind of add that through here. There you go. There's my iris. Then once I have that in here, I'm just going to go ahead and add the pupil. The pupil is going to go right in the middle, right there. Okay? So right now, okay, we should have the iris, the pupil, all right, the shape of the eye, and the tear duct. Now, before we head on, maybe do things with the eyelashes, I like to go ahead and kind of add a little shading in here as well. So a lot of times I'll go ahead and take the pupil. The pupil will be very dark, almost black. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of shade that in. Okay. Then once I have that, I always like to go ahead and kind of add a little bit of texture to create the colored part of the eye. To do this, I go ahead and I put a bunch of lines going inward towards the center of the eye. All right? It's almost like I got a bunch of spokes on a tire, all going inward. All right, just kind of bring them all in, but don't have them go all the way. Have them kind of stop about midway. And then I also have a few lines kind of branch out from the center. Just kind of don't have them touch just yet. Just kind of create a little bit of texture with this. And then when I get this done, if you want, a couple things you can do. Sometimes people like to take their finger, kind of smudge it in a little bit. That works pretty good too. Or if you have one of these, a blending stump, you can go ahead and kind of take this as well and use this to kind of blend a little bit of it in here as well. All right. Ooh, that was nice. I like that. Cool. All right, now, once we have that done, the next thing we want to do, we're going to add eyelashes. Eyelashes are tricky. You want to remember, keep in mind that when you put eyelashes in here, they extend away from your tear duct. So if I think about that, if they extend out this way, I'm going to go ahead and kind of put them in here, and they kind of slightly curl upwards, okay? Got to extend out and up, out away from the tear duct and up. All right, now as they get towards the top of the eye, they get shorter. All right, just almost have a little bit of a wisp, and they gradually disappear. You really don't have a lot of eyelash right through here. All right, so don't add too many here. You can have a couple short ones, but that's it. Same thing with the bottom. They're going to go ahead, extend out, but down. All right, and I usually keep them a little bit shorter. Typically, your bottom lashes aren't quite as long. All right, and there you have it. You got your eye. If you wanted to, you could go ahead and kind of add a little bit of a lid right through here too, or show more definition with that. If you wanted to add a little bit of shading in the tear gland, you could go ahead and do that, or a tear duct. That's perfectly fine. But that'll be perfect for an eye. Now the next thing is going to be the nose. Now to do the nose, I'm going to go ahead and do it right over here, to the lower right of the eye here. To get started with this, I'm going to go ahead and leave a little space for the bridge of my nose. I'm going to start with the bottom portion of the nose. And to do this, I use 3 circles. One big circle, 2 small circles on either side. Okay? So I got 3 circles, 1 big one, 2 smaller ones. Now, this is going to represent kind of the middle part of your nose, and then we got 2 smaller circles for your nostrils. Once I have that, then I'm going to take 2 lines on either side of the big circle. They're going to slightly angle inward. All right? And I usually like to say it's about this length of the bigger circle that you want to repeat for the length of the bridge of your nose. Okay? And that's about right. If I went ahead and kind of used my fingers, kind of measure that, move that up here, boom, that looks perfect. So I've got that in here. Then the next step is I want to go ahead and add this little trapezoid shape on the top here. That is going to be the space that's in between your eyes. All of these different shapes represent areas, sections, planes, and proportions on your face that will help you out later on your drawing. Once we have this done, then I can start adding some details. For example, taking the nostrils. I usually go ahead and take a little chunk out from underneath the nostril, a little chunk from underneath the nostril here. I raise this up a little bit on the side, raise this up a little bit more here, and I have my nostril. And that's where you can go ahead and kind of erase a little bit of those excess lines. All right, a little bit of these excess lines right through here. And I also like to go ahead and erase this top portion of the nose. Okay? All right. And right now, that's not too bad of the nostrils and the bottom portion of the nose. Now, the section up here, what's going to happen is this. These lines that go upwards are going to be a little bit darker here, but then as your nose gets into your face, these upper lines start to kind of disappear a little bit. All right? They start to disappear, but then they get a little bit darker right in through here. This is where your eyes are going to be on either side of this. Okay? I like to sometimes go in here too and kind of add a little bit of shading on the side here. If you want to do that, you can. It's not necessary, but it kind of helps give a little more definition to kind of what's going on with your nose, and even on the sides here too. Sometimes a little shading on the sides here, kind of underneath here, you can go ahead and do that. That's kind of a nice thing to do to kind of add a little bit more of that. Okay. Okay. There we go. Just going to go ahead and finish it up right there. And it looks pretty good. That's a pretty nice looking nose. That will work for us. Now the last facial feature is going to be your mouth. It's the lips. Now to do the lips is a great technique. I still use this one. I want to go ahead and I want to start with 3 shapes. I want to start with kind of long, oblong, almost like a hot dog shape. Make my hot dog so it's not so bent right there. There we go. And I go ahead and put 2 circles, 2 small circles right on the top. Just kind of center them up right there. Okay. A lot of times when I draw this, kids always say, "Oh, it looks like a frog, Mr. Carlson." Yeah, it kind of does a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take this hot dog shape with the 2 small circles, and we're going to drape a line right over the top of this. All right, just like that. Okay, so we've got that in through there. Okay, now the 2 small circles will represent our upper lip. This will be the lower lip. Now we want to go ahead and we want to put a line to separate the top from the bottom. So I'm going to go in here, run a line right on the top of this oblong shape, drop a little bit of a line down in between here. Okay, dip it down, and then bring it to the other side right through here. And that will be representing our upper lip. I can go ahead and kind of erase maybe those 2 circles. They were more or less kind of a way to kind of help guide our shape, get our proportions down. All right. And then this lower lip right here, sometimes it looks a little too flattened out on the sides, maybe a little too big. So what I like to do is this. I like to go ahead and take a little bit off of each side, almost like I'm taking the edges and just kind of pinching them just a little bit, kind of make them look a little bit more dainty, if you will. All right, a little bit more proportionally correct too to that of a mouth. And then I'm just going to go ahead and kind of line that up. So right now, this is a pretty good shape, but one last thing I'm going to do is this. Add a little shading. Now, what happens is with your mouth, if you looked at your face at a profile, I'm going to see if I can kind of quickly kind of whip this up here real quick, kind of add a little bit of a nose here as well, okay? If this was your lips, okay, looking at a profile, your upper lip angles inward. So when the sun is shining down on this, this gets a shadow. So typically your upper lip will be darker than your lower lip, will have a shadow. And your lower lip captures that highlight and has a shadow. But then you might have a little shadow underneath here. So what's going to happen is this. We're going to take the pencil on the side, add a little bit of shading, not much, don't make it too dark. On the top here, once again, you want to use your finger to kind of smudge this in, you can, or use a blending stone. I'm going to add a little bit here, then I'm also going to go ahead and kind of add a little bit down below here as well. All right, just a little bit, okay? Once again, take your finger, kind of blend that in a little bit, okay? You can add a few other details too. I know sometimes I like to kind of put in a few lines right through here, right? And of course your nose will be on the top. And that'll be your lips. So class, we went ahead, we got our 3 different facial features down, our eyes, nose, and our mouth. Our next video will deal with taking these features and putting them on the face itself.